managed by city employees, which would exclude, and would also exclude the library and museum. And so I would ask that we get a second and then we vote. And I have lots of information here.
Anita has placed a motion. Is there support?
No?
I'll support.
Anita's made a motion, there's support. Is there any other discussion around it?
I guess I would like to see more of it, what you're,
Okay, so today we all got from the lawyer.
Yep.
That.
that it's legal.
And so a lot of there's a case in the Supreme Court right now about James Freed, who's a local to
Right.
most of us, known to most of us. So it was his personal page and he blocked somebody. And so that is the part that is up there. But it has, even the ACLU has said, if you're not going to allow anybody to comment, then it's not an issue at that point. It's information just like you post a website and the website says that. So the article that I have is from Aluka County, not violating the First Amendment by blocking public comment on social media sites. The main one where they stopped all commenting there was for the police department. And as when I talked to Deanna about it, you can get on most city and county Facebook pages for police and they're not any commenting because you don't necessarily want that type of back and forth. And when we are trying to get information out, it's just like with the Bugle, it's filled with information and it's wonderful. It's not, you get to write on it and send it to your neighbor and tell them what you think of him. And because on social media, you have so many comments that we couldn't block that really should. We've had comments that all of us up here have went, oh, I can't believe that got said. That is just not right. But at least it wasn't on our page. Because if it was, then you're stuck with it. And so if you just let it, and as the article points out, they can still share. I'm not saying block all the sharing, they can share it over to their own site and they can do what they want or take a picture. First Amendment experts said the county blocking, this is about that county, blocking the comments is not doing anything illegal in terms of free speech. You have not created a meeting, you have not created a forum, and therefore you do not have to let people communicate in that way. So, since it was one of them in the very beginning, who wanted, Facebook use and let's get ways, my phone is where I see it, it doesn't mean that we need to let everybody say things that are completely inappropriate.
Anything, Janine?
I agree with some of it, but some of it I'm concerned about not having a way for people to voice their frustrations, whether it's inappropriate or this.
So they are able to call City Hall. They are able to call any one of us. They're able to come to these meetings and speak what they want and how they want. They're able to go into City Hall. They just wouldn't be able to go on and call, even if they don't like you. So they wouldn't be able to go on and call you all kinds of names that everybody from 20 cities around us gets to sit there and read. That wouldn't be allowed anymore. So they have been turning off comment now. It's not been stopping anybody from not being able to learn what's happening. When I got that's why I brought up the Bugle. When I got my Bugle, if there was something in there I didn't understand, I could ask for clarification.
Anything else, Drew?
No.
I think you've done.
Well, she might have been done.
Oh, okay. Are you done, Janine?
Yeah, I am done.
So, turning off public comment, you believe would create a clearer pathway to information for people our social media pages, correct?
If it would work quite the way you did. I mean, I'm not sure you're saying that it would, that I'm saying that it would make information easier. I mean, because you can get onto there right now, if comment were turned on a post, you can get on and you can say absolutely anything. It doesn't even have to be about what the post is about. You can be still mad about something that happened 10 years ago and rant it all up, and then I come on, I just moved here and I'm reading yours and go, wow, why did the city take care of that, you know, like, what is all this? You have several forms to do that. It just doesn't have to be on, this is the official page, and this is the official police department, and that's not the place to have comments that you can't do anything about. So even like with you, when there was one, you know, that was outlandish to all of us, you know, if that had been on the page, you know, that's what they're saying, you can't stop somebody, but you can turn off comments so that we don't have to have that again. And even if you look at some of these other areas that have it, once they get started, it's amazing what happens. And so this would be, that social media page is for informational purposes. Even when they turned it off the last couple of weeks, it is said, if you have any questions about this, please call. And so I think did a couple of theirs, you know, if you have a tip about this, please do it. The county turns off the commenting, but you can actually message or text 911 now. You don't even have to actually be in a location where you can physically call. You know, if you're afraid of the sound, you can do that. So we have all those other ways. We don't necessarily need people fighting and saying things that maybe aren't quite the truth underneath something that we have put out, because we can't say enough. You can't do that anymore. You can't say that, you know, don't go after that person. You can't do that. And that was what with Freed, that was his personal page, and that was beginning of COVID, and somebody just would not stop pushing at him, and so he blocked them. That's why it's up in there, because that did start out to be his own page. But this, where they go into, you know, and like I said, even the ACLU, you can't stop people from speaking, you can't stop from standing out there, but you don't have to create something new for any of it.
So the turning off of comments would be, I'm trying to not court talk or whatnot, but like an environment that we will be creating on behalf of the city by turning off comments is going to be an environment where we're going to look at our social media as strictly informational. This is not a,
This is not a
this is
state
not a
session.
platform for information sharing, for discourse. There are other platforms for that. This is for the city to release information for people to view, and then if they have questions, discourse, comments, that they would be able to call the city. They have direct contact, they have emails, our contact information is there. If they have questions about anything that's posted on our social media, is that correct? Is that the environment that we would like to create?
Yes, because then they can have the information, it can be instantaneous, you can say this is what it is. If they still want to simply complain, they still can, because they can share it over to theirs. It's interesting to note that many of our local areas do not have it. And that is some of the reason why. But I like the fact that it's instant. If he shuts down a street because something happened, they can immediately post that this street has been shut down. And if you're on that street, then you would know that you could call. When the police department has posted about any number of things, including, I think at one point, you know, cars were getting broken into, they didn't take comment. They didn't, you know, I did see one in Montcalm County that took comment. I think it was the 911, and they were looking for a particular guy and wanted things, and he made comment. So, I mean, but it isn't exactly what, you know, could have done it in any other way. It wasn't their only way of catching But it would be that, just like our website, you don't get to say anything. You don't get to, use speech that is a problem. I could get on the Belding school site and say all kinds of things, and, what are they gonna do? It's not, so until something changes, then it's done, and it's not where John and Janae have to decide which posts they're gonna allow on, and which posts they're not. It just would simply be, they're not.
Anything else, Joe?
No, I feel like I need a little bit more time to digest.
I couldn't talk to anybody.
You guys?
I think the only thing that I want to say on the subject, I think what the city puts out is for informational only. It's not like they get back on there and they, interact with people anyway. There's no interaction from us, it's just from people. And then once that starts, it usually generally just snowballs into something you never would have to begin with. So that if you turn that off, at any given time, you can get a hold of somebody at the city. If you wanna actually have a discussion and, get answers, call, email. The problem is they don't really want the answers, they just wanna complain. So I just think, it's not, we don't even use it because we don't interact with anybody on the website for the most part. Or, on website, on Facebook, so why allow the comments? If we're not gonna engage them anyways, what's the point of even doing that?
Which that was brought up in several articles, that then you would have to look at all the time to answer every single one if it's not factual, just the staff time or our time to go on and try and answer and say, well, that's not right, and then it blows up further. I remember when we had the water boil, there was somebody from City Hall that decided to engage, and it was all of the incorrect information. And that made that particular part of the situation even worse. And I remember being part of that and calling somebody much higher up than the person who was on the page and said, please stop them, they are incorrect. That isn't, you're just trying to get out the information. You're trying to say, here's a water boil. You're not trying to get into exactly what was the test, how was the test done, that isn't it at that point in time. That's get the information out and not, like Shelley said, not go back and forth. And we don't anyway. Has anybody here made a comment underneath and answered? I have. And I consider myself fairly active, but you haven't, that I can recall. Even if they're wrong, it's like, no, I don't want
I guess I can weigh in. I wasn't a real advocate for the Facebook page when it came around to begin with. I'm not a Facebook user, so as part of it, I did support it only for the fact that so many people use Facebook. So I think that's a good way to kind of communicate with the people and allow the city to get more information to more people. I always thought you could go to the city website just as quickly as you could go to your Facebook, but like I said, I'm not a Facebook user, so I don't really know that much about it. The concern I have about the commenting, and John and I have talked about this before, is the disinformation that happens. Because once disinformation gets out there, it's very difficult to get it pulled back in. And people are going to believe whatever gets posted immediately just by the way they think or the way they're already thinking or leaning, that's what they're gonna believe. So, and I think it's unfair for the city to have to try to figure out how many posts are being put out there or comments that are being made that are not correct. And then having to try to correct that and spend that time going back and forth and doing it. I agree with allowing Facebook, the city to have a Facebook site, to be able to post stuff so people understand what's going on. And can get that information. That's the way they get their information. That's fine with me. That's their preference. It's not my preference, but it's their preference. So I don't really care if they wanna do it on Facebook, they can do it on Facebook. But I do have issues with the commenting. I did wait, I, seen the, language that the city attorney had put together and sent out. I also spoke with, the city attorney, about it. There are cases out there, there's no real decisions that have been made. So there is nothing that supports having the comments open. It's not, we have to have them open. There may be a day where if you have a city Facebook that you, or any kind of entity has that, you may have to have them open. And I think that's the time that each entity would have to decide on their own, do you want a Facebook? Because do you want to deal with the having to try to track to make sure that what is getting sent out is what truly is happening, or the information is accurate. But I think at this time, if Belding does not want to allow comments, they don't have to allow comments. But then I guess that's what this is about, so it's totally up to council whether moving forward, they want to allow comments on their city websites, or if they do not want to.
Is there an ongoing, I shouldn't phrase it that way because, the information that we put out on our social media, so our social media is Facebook, correct? We don't do any other social media, so just Facebook.
Well, and the only reason I say so, it isn't just the city,
Yeah.
it's deemed,
Which is
the police
Facebook.
department is there, yes. You don't have to.
So, I know that for some years now, it's been like the world of disinformation. Do we have an ongoing problem as a majority of our posts with people getting out of line and providing information that is not correct? So as a majority, let's say we have 100 posts, majority of our posts, we have people that are getting out of line and providing incorrect information.
And attacking other people, I've also seen that.
That's the majority of the votes?
So,
I don't know that I can give you statistics, but I can say it happens more often than you'd like it to.
Yeah.
And sometimes on issues that aren't even something you would expect to be controversial.
Mhm.
I have noticed that since we posted that if you have questions or comments about this particular topic, call City Hall, my emails and my daily telephone calls have gone up significantly. I typically get about 40 emails a day and probably a dozen phone calls. And I say that they have doubled, but they're up probably by 30–40%.
and then when you do look at them, there are many that. So some areas, like with the library, if they do 10 posts, you might see one that has a comment. When the city does a post, if the comments are open, every one of them has it, most of them are not. What I would show my mother. And be proud.
The reason I posed that question is because I want to make sure that the negative is not out. The negative, if it's in the minority, is not going to cause a decision that takes away from the positive. So if a minority of the posts have negative comments, but the majority of our posts, people are getting good information and have a platform that they feel provide an opportunity to be social, whatever. I just wanna make sure we're not taking that away because of this little piece over here where people are being nasty and making
Well,
nasty comments.
let's just take, for example, that. So when it comes up here and we're trying to get an idea of what people we know think, do you go on there?
If we're posting something relevant to the meeting. that's
No,
fine.
like when he posted that we got $1.5 million in grant. There's the reading the comments.
Mhm.
Oh. But then none of us speak and nobody else does, so that just is allowed to continue. I did get into private with somebody who is associated near Merrick Street because they were saying that, nobody cares about Merrick Street. I'm like, hey, wait a minute. Yeah, we already had this and, here's where you go look, but I wasn't gonna go. Out in the open. I don't think that I have actually ever seen any of them. So where are they supposed to get there? They're back and forth and what is real, the only place they're gonna get it is if they call. It's not happening. So that's why, no, it's not just that little group, but there is a lot. And so if you stop it, then you have to go and get the information in another way. Or they can go and share it to their own page and have their own discourse with their friends, that not everybody has to be a part.
I can say the majority of calls that I get, the people at the end of the phone call or the end of the email, they understand the situation better. They may not be any more happy with it, but at least they understand it now and know the truth. And they're appreciative of that. We can't please everybody all the time. I mean, that's just a given. But it's nice to have a conversation with somebody that will, at the end of the conversation, say, okay, thank you, I now understand it better. I don't like it any better, but I understand it. Or, geez, you changed my mind because I didn't know it was this way. Those are the ones that are obviously most rewarding.
And we do have places that people can go back and forth that are not controlled by us. And so if somebody gets out of hand on Positively Belding, then those two people who run that page can deal with it. But not necessarily, can we say, I don't agree with that viewpoint, or that isn't even correct, and you shouldn't attack that person, and there is none of that. So that was why, instead of just my reading, then I asked the lawyers that, and yes.
The lawyer's gonna speak to legality, so,
Yeah.
So he's gonna say whether or not he can, if, whether it's legal or if it's something that he could provide case study, to support it if it went to a certain level. So I understand that part.
But she
Wait.
did very much.
Very much so. Would you be open to a suggestion of having a public comment before I vote next meeting?
Okay.
Just to get, what I'm hoping that allows is both sides, whether people want it shut down or people say, hey, they want it, whether they don't want it or do want it. Not that I'm going to make my decision solely on public comment, but I would, one, fight more time, two, allow comment on
I would be open to that. And digging out some more reading, because what does happen on there is,
Oh, yeah,
I do
I
not
am the
want,
recipient of inappropriate comments on Facebook, so I completely understand.
and if they were on the city page,
Right.
nobody could do anything.
Right.
That's not right.
Right.
I mean, that is not, and then like I said to somebody who was wanting me to actually go in the opposite direction and even tagged me, I flat out said, no, I agree with, if you can't control those comments, then you shouldn't be trying to play. Just like if somebody gets up there and starts just an F-word rant, they're gonna be stopped. And there are rules, but there's not much in this world, that goes on here. And it's like, so, and positively Belding, where that's 2 individual people who run it, they have to approve what's going to come on, they have to, if you report a comment back that, that went a little far, they will delete it. I know that personally from them. So there is a lot more of that. And yeah, I did get tagged, and that's really when I started to read and went, this is out of hand. Do it on all of your own stuff, don't do it here. And especially the misinformation, and I did remember when it was the water boil.
I guess I'm in a little bit of uncharted here. There's a motion and a support. Can she just remove her motion?
She could, or somebody could move to table it, I believe, pending additional information, and if the maker and the supporter agrees, then it's done.
So that would be Terrell asking for it.
Yeah, I asked for the amendment to the motion, or do it. So
Probably the
they have
supporter
to,
should
we have to
just
vote
rescind.
on her motion, and then the new motion would be,
No, you would vote to table, you would say, please table.
Or Shelley could rescind her support, pending more information.
I'll rescind my support or new information.
And then it will be on the agenda for next time. With all of the normal detail that comes along with an agenda. Because that was in the beginning,